as an American citizen, and I have no prior military experience, so I'm just talking about it from an NFL fan sitting on a couch on Sunday watching. I think if, as an American person, American citizen that pays taxes, if we're going to go fight a war, I want to know up front exactly what victory looks like. And I want to know when we reach it, because now, let's not keep pivoting this thing. And that's what I felt so many times when, and I have a pretty good, information dealing with people like yourself and also, other intelligent people that we, are plugged in with, that there was this big change where, hey, if this is what victory looked like, let's go do it. And then, let's come home and let this thing go. But I don't know. I mean, maybe it was a feeling that once we reach what we thought was a victory, if we leave it, we're just leaving a hornet's nest that we're finding. Here we are, now it's a 20 years later, better equipped hornet's nest.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all of that, and I think there's a difference between how Americans and a lot of the rest of the world view time. We're talking about a 20-year involvement in Afghanistan. You talk to Afghanis, and they're talking, their version of time it's generational. They're holding grudges from three levels of their, and somebody who had an issue with their family 3 generations before, and they still are holding that grudge. To the U.S., 4 political administrations sounds like a lot. One, you talk to your average Afghani, they have no understanding of what the U.S. political administration system is or how politics work. But you talk about like 20 years, they're going to laugh at you. Their version of time and everything to go with time, forgiveness and revenge. It's so incredibly different. So for us, we look at a 20-year engagement as if it's this overwhelming, incredibly long thing. And to them, I mean, dude, it's a blink of an eye. And viewing things like that disconnect, again, it speaks to the cultural differences and why I think it's hard for a lot of people to understand what's going on in that country and why it's going back to what it was before.
So I just looked it up. The Russians were there 14 years, 78 through 92.
Yeah. We're 1.5 times as good as the Russians. I mean, basically, it's what that works down. Second place is first loser.
Oh my God. I mean, if you go through and you just do a basic search on like the amount of people that have tried to occupy this place, it's mind boggling.
And again, they view things generationally. I mean, the attention span of people in the United States is probably an Instagram post or maybe one political administration backwards. And it's just a different, and again, you're viewing a complex issue through a pinhole. Best of luck,
So what do you think I know you're not a prognosticator and you don't have a crystal ball, but where do we go from here? I mean, obviously, the current administration isn't ready to tool up and go back and somehow right some wrong. As soon as I saw the helicopter land on the roof for the embassy, I was like, oh man, this looks just like Vietnam. And then people were showing the pictures. I wonder, where do we go from here?
Yeah, the helicopter on the roof of the embassy, before I answer the question, to me, that speaks to what I said earlier. Like, we couldn't have had a better plan to maybe just proactively get all of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and people say, oh, well, the enemy would have known what you were doing. It's like, yeah, I understand that. But maybe we could have, absorbed a little bit more risk with that and gotten a lot of people out of there now before it becoming a crisis. I don't know. Maybe it's a better idea to make decisions before they become a crisis. As far as where do we go from here? I think it's going to depend on, I don't have a good answer because I don't know necessarily what's going to happen in that country. I mean, what are they going to do with all that stuff that we left behind? What is the country going to evolve into? I mean, the U.S. military after 20 years, I can tell you the refinement and evolution of the U.S. military from 2001 to 2021, it's really hard to describe. I mean, everything is different from even the people who are in the military. There are now people serving in the military who were not alive on 9/11. Different generation of people, a different generation of electronics, of equipment, of body armor, of uniform, and of tactics. The tactics of 2021 are so different than 2001. Talking about the ability to strike people without even having a presence on the ground. Drone warfare, which I'm not necessarily an advocate for or against. I think it's a piece of a very complicated puzzle. But I think, and I would hope that we have developed the ability to no longer need to have these 100+ thousand forces go and occupy. I really do think that the U.S. military has evolved to the point where we can do a lot more with less people, with a lot of those force multipliers, whether it be the equipment, overhead assets or sensors, to even with the people they're wearing in the field right now. I mean, fuck, the amount of smart technology that guys are wearing into the field. I never felt comfortable relying on a battery saving my life. Like if I had to operate right now, my backpack would be so heavy for all the goddamn batteries that I would have with me, just in case my primary set failed and then my secondary and tertiary. Like I wouldn't even be able to move. I'd have like 100-pound backpack of batteries. I'd be so terrified of these devices failing. But it allows you to do amazing stuff. So I would hope that we learn from our lessons in Afghanistan. And if, let's say, we identify an area where they are training, and maybe what we were going there to do in 2001 and it's happening again, I would like to think that we have the ability to handle that much more remotely and with a smaller force that doesn't require anything that would look like nation building. I think that's really the only way that we can go forward, is to stop nation building. And again, I mean, I'm not an expert in foreign policy. I mean, because largely what I'm describing is you're putting your fingers into a leak in a dam in the hopes that the dam doesn't burst. But I just don't want to see a repeat of what has happened for the last 20 years in Afghanistan. I would like to think that we are able to do that.